Why don't you talk a little bit about the welfare benefits people are crying about?
You know what, Mike? I get so upset when elected officials abdicate their responsibility in favor of political expediency. As you are probably aware, in the Twin Cities in Minnesota, Minneapolis, St. Paul, there's a very, very large Somali population. Now, there's all kinds of things that come along with the Somali population. That, for example, in the schools in Minneapolis, St. Paul's, they now have prayer rooms. They never had prayer rooms for the Bible or for Christianity, but they have prayer rooms for the followers of Islam because in Minneapolis, St. Paul, and most of the city, they have the call to prayer 5 times a day. You've experienced that in the Middle East. I have too. I can remember when President Obama said that, the call to prayer was one of the most beautiful sounds he had ever heard. Well, if you ever hear the call to prayer as it's broadcast over loudspeakers, beautiful is not the word that comes to my mind. But at any rate, there's a huge Somali population which happens to be Muslim, followers of Islam. And there was a church there, actually, it was a restaurant that had signed up for special benefits during COVID to feed 5,000 poor people a week. And so they built this thing up, and somehow they applied for grants for autistic children specifically. But they were getting these huge grants for millions and millions of dollars. I think it's $250 million total, Mike, over the entire length of time of the scam. But what they were doing is they were sending that money to Somali terrorist organizations. They were taking taxpayer money that was supposed to be used to feed these 5,000 poor kids every week. At one report I saw, they were spending $200 a week on food. You know, Jesus divided the loaves and the fishes to feed the 5,000, but I don't think the restaurant in the Twin Cities is dividing $200 worth of food and to feed 5,000 meals. At any rate, there's this big stink where they believe that Tim Walz. There were a couple of whistleblowers specifically who reported this to the governor, Tim Walz, and also to the mayor. And both the governor and the mayor stood up and supported the Somali population of the Twin Cities, which to me smacks of political expediency. I'm going to say nice things about you, even though we've lost $250 million somewhere. I'm going to say nice things about the Somali population. To be fair, most of the Somalis were probably not involved with this scam, right? But the
Right.
people who were involved with the scam were Somalis, were members of the religion of Islam, and they were taking that money and sending it to a terrorist group in Somalia. As a matter of fact, one of the principal people involved, while he was supposed to be an American citizen, or not citizen, but here in America legally, was running for political office in Somalia. So it tells you that it wasn't home very much. It even reached Ilhan Omar, as you know, the president, in talking about this particular scam, that was fraudulent stealing of taxpayer dollars. When many people in the government knew about it and turned a blind eye towards it, um, they're now saying that Ilhan Omar, who is of Somali descent and a member of the House of Representatives from that district, now may have known about it or may have been involved. She certainly is here under false pretenses because, as the president said, she married her brother to get here. So that's the story, Mike. The stealing of somewhere of several millions, maybe as much as $250 million, and sending it to terrorist groups in Somalia. And various politicians being aware of the graft, the fraud, and the corruption and doing nothing about it.
Yeah, I guess that pretty much sums up that for this week. Let's try another one here. So we were talking about food stamps and SNAP the other day. I was talking with my stepdaughter Genesis, and she was pointing out about all the fraud that she knows about that goes around about it. And I guess that was kind of in the news too during the shutdown. And I told her, I said, what struck me is there was 40 some million people on food stamps in the United States,
Yep.
and our population's like 330 million. That's more than 10% of the US population. What do
Yep.
you what do you think about all that and the fraud? And is there any way that we can clean this up?
Mike, there is, but it requires a spine by the government organizations that are in charge of these benefits. And unfortunately, most government workers don't have a spine. And that's because they don't want to face the wrath of the demonstrations that go along with it. Typically what happens, the easiest fraud in the world to per- perpetuate is to sign up for your SNAP card, and you get a certain amount of benefits based on need in your SNAP card. And that you don't even have to go collect the money. They simply electronically refill, if you will, your SNAP card with the amount of benefits. So what happens is, and this is especially true for young men who are able-bodied and of working age. Typically a woman who has two kids and gets a SNAP benefit card, she's responsible for feeding those kids. And so there's a pretty good likelihood she's going to buy groceries with those because she has nowhere else to get the food she needs for her children. But you have these young, able bodied men and women who qualify for these SNAP benefits, and they get the refill on their card, and they go to these small independent grocery stores. And what they do is they trade whatever amount of money is on electronically on that card. Let's say that it's $800. Okay, they go to this small independent grocery. They charge the $800 at the grocery store, the little independent grocery store, and don't take any merchandise out. And the shopkeeper gives them $200 or $300 in cash out of the cash register in exchange for the $600 or $800 worth of SNAP digital dollar benefits, right?
Right.
So the small grocery store makes a really nice killing. They get a $600 in their bank account, and out of the till, out of the cash register, they have to turn out $200 or $300. So they're making a 50% profit, right?
Right.
And the able-bodied person who takes the cash, they go to the casino or they go to the drug dealer and buy drugs with it or whatever. So what happens is America uses these benefits that are meant for as a safety net for those truly in need, and we give it to people who are not truly in need, and they trade it for all these various things that are just ridiculous for this American taxpayer to be paying for. By the way, I don't know if you're aware of this, but Amazon, all these online Whole Food, all these people use SNAP benefits now for their groceries. You can buy groceries online
Yep.
on Amazon or any of these other online people and use your SNAP benefit card. And you can buy things like sirloin steak, top round T-bone, caviar, lobsters. You can buy all of those things, which are really food. I mean, it qualifies, it's food, but somehow somebody using SNAP benefits to buy steak and lobster seems somehow like that's inappropriate. If you have a real need for the basic elements of nutrition for yourself or your family, you're buying hamburger, hot dogs, and some cereal, milk, bread, and eggs. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And some of these other things that they purchase are just, I mean, it's just waste, fraud, and abuse. Remember when Doge was up there and Doge was going to fix all this? Doge fell short. And again, government doesn't have the will. They don't have the willpower to stop this fraud.
I'm not sure they have the ability. We had workfare in Pennsylvania many years ago, and they had to cancel that because it costs more money to hire people to oversee the program to make sure there wasn't fraud than there was to just let the fraud continue. It's like what's that called? Uh, Double-edged sword type thing. It's just it's a shame that's what we've come to in America.
You know what, Mike? When a 26-year-old able-bodied man with no physical difficulties, no handicap, shows up and gets a benefit from SNAP, $600 or $800 a month, he can go work at the local convenience store and make enough money to take care of himself. There's no able-bodied man in America that should be getting that kind of benefit for free from the American taxpayer. It just isn't.